For our next project, we're going to do an Among Us watercolor project. We are going to do a galaxy background, and this is the first layer. We did something similar to this when we did our eyes last time. This one I have, if you can see close, I've got some salt on here. We did a wet on wet, and this is the first layer. So once you have your first layer, and this you can tell I did wet on wet, and then I did some drops. This is a good first layer, but then you're gonna wanna go back and darken it. So you're gonna do the same thing. I've loaded all my colors, and all that means is that I went in and added some water. So you have puddles of water in here. And this is the first layer. So once you have a good first layer, you're just gonna go back in again and you're gonna add more color to it just to deepen the original color. And you're gonna go in and you're just going to deepen them again. And that's just gonna add another level of darkness to them. And you'll just go back in just how you did the first time around and then darken it. And this will be a process just like you did before, where you add a little, you blend with the water, you go above, but it's just another layer. And you can tell just how dark that is from the first layer to the second layer. And you can go over with the same colors you did before. You can go over and add some secondary colors to build up on the ones you had. But see how those start to blend and just darken. With watercolor, you have to build up the layers to get that nice galaxy look. And you can leave some that original if you want that. Like I kind of like this light here, so I will probably just drop some water on top and leave that alone. But I want to have that darker look that I'm gonna get with that second layer. And again, if you want the splatters or like you can put a little salt on there, and when that comes up, it'll have that little speckled effect. And this will be our galaxy background. So we'll do that first. We'll do a layer of this, put it aside, let that first layer dry, which is what this is. Then while we're waiting for it to dry, we'll do our little characters. Now, I'm gonna have a worksheet for you to do, and it'll have some ideas. These are gonna be more than just your original characters that if you play the game that you have. You can give them Christmas sweaters, you can add the little hats, you can create your own character. It just has to have the basics of the character, the like basic body. You can have them running, you can give them like the hat, but you can also like make it have a pattern outfit or stuff like that. So you can, it doesn't have to stick to the specifics of the game when it comes to like colors or patterns or stuff like that. It just has to have like the look of the character. So I'm going to kind of walk you through how you would build up the shadows to give it the three-dimensional look that it would have. So I've gone in, and this is one layer. So one layer of the blue and then one layer of the gray. To get the look, to have the 3D look, you're going to do in layers just like you did with the galaxy background. So for the gray, you're going to do this first layer of gray, and then you're going to go back in and you're going to do, and this is the gray I've mixed. To mix gray, you just do blue or black with a lot of water. And if you're not sure, get yourself a little piece of paper and do a little sample. Is that too gray? Do I need to add more water to it to blend it out? What do I need to do to make it a lighter gray? So you'll do one layer. This is one layer. Then you'll go back in once it's dry. It has to be dry, otherwise it'll bleed. You want that crisp edge that graphic has in the game. So once it's dry, then you'll go back in and you'll do a layer right on top of the same color of gray to get that second shadow around. And this will give you a nice smooth edge. And again, it's just that same color you did before, but another layer. So then you have those 2 layers, that shadow. And again, it's just that same gray you did before. So then you would do the same thing for whatever color you choose here. So I had that light blue. So I would go in and do the shadows on his body. So there would be the shadow around here and the shadow on his little backpack thing. So I'm using the same color and I'm just going to do another layer. And this is probably a little dark. So I'm going to go in on a tile. And I have tiles for you guys to mix. And you're just going to go in. And we're going to take a Sharpie and do like the linear lines on these. So don't worry so much about that line around his leg. But again, you're going to do another layer. That goes all the way up here, I believe. And this is going to be in you're going to have some dry time, because while this is drying, you won't be able to work on anything, because when you dry with watercolor, if it's wet, you can't do another layer of something because it'll bleed. So when you work with watercolors, any layers you do, it has to be dry. So for instance, if I wanted to do like a blue cheetah print on this, I would have to wait. I could do it on this dry part here, but I could not do it on this wet part here because it would just bleed right away and spread. So I'll show you where I could do it on the light, but I could not do it on the dark. I'm trying to think what a cheetah print would look like real quick. Let me see. Like, here's a cheetah print. It has a couple, like a little, I do like the dark around the area. So let's see, I'd get a small brush and I could do it on, and I'm just gonna do it with a darker blue. If you're gonna do a pattern and you're gonna do it with watercolor, you'll have to think about your colors. If you do it on top of something, it needs to be a color that either goes along with that color or mixes. So if I did blue and I went over it with yellow, it's gonna be green. So you need to think about your color wheel and how stuff goes, or you need to build your pattern as you paint it. So you need to kind of think about, if I'm gonna do something, how it's gonna work. But I'm just gonna do it with an actual dark blue. I'm gonna take a little tiny brush and I'm just gonna do this on the dry part. And I'm just gonna do a little cheetah pattern. And this is kind of not the greatest cheetah pattern, but hey. And I could do it on the other shadowed part, but I would have to wait until it dried. I couldn't do it now. I'd have to wait until it dried, if that makes sense. And it would go off the page, right? Because it wouldn't just stop when it reached the edge. So I could do a cheetah pattern on the whole little fella here. I would just have to wait this section down here until it dried. So for your project, you're going to do your galaxy. You're going to do your 2 layers so that it's nice and dark and really sharp looking. Then you're going to create a few characters, then you're going to cut them out, then you're going to have them on your galaxy. Now your characters can be like this, they can be running, they can have extras like hats or whatever. You're going to create them to become your own characters. And that is our next project.